Milly-Molly-Mandy Stories by Joyce Lankester Brisley. Read by Katherine Press. Chapter 1. Milly-Molly-Mandy Does Errands. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. She had a father and a mother, and a grandpa and a grandma, and an uncle and an auntie. And they all lived together in a nice white cottage with a thatched roof. This little girl had short hair and short legs and short frocks, pink and white striped cotton in summer and red serge in winter. But her name wasn't short at all. It was Millicent Margaret Amanda. But father and mother and grandpa and grandma and uncle and auntie couldn't very well call out, "Millicent Margaret Amanda," every time they wanted her, so they shortened it to Milly-Molly-Mandy, which is quite easy to say. Now, everybody in the nice white cottage with the thatched roof had some particular job to do, even Milly-Molly-Mandy. Father grew vegetables in the big garden by the cottage. Mother cooked the dinners and did the washing. Grandpa took the vegetables to market in his little pony cart. Grandma knitted socks and mittens and nice warm woolies for them all. Uncle kept cows to give them milk, and chickens to give them eggs. Auntie sewed frocks and shirts for them, and did the sweeping and dusting. And Milly-Molly-Mandy, what did she do? Well, Milly-Molly-Mandy's legs were short, as I've told you, but they were very lively, just right for running errands. So Milly-Molly-Mandy was quite busy, fetching and carrying things, and taking messages. One fine day, Milly-Molly-Mandy was in the garden playing with Toby the dog, when Father poked his head out from the other side of a big row of beans and said, "Milly-Molly-Mandy, run down to Mr. Moggs's cottage and ask for the trowel he borrowed from me." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Father," and ran in to get her hat. At the kitchen door was Mother, with a basket of eggs in her hand. And when she saw Milly-Molly-Mandy, she said, "Milly-Molly-Mandy, run down to Mrs. Moggs and give her these eggs. She's got visitors." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Mother," and took the basket. Trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, she thought to herself. Then Grandpa came up and said, "Milly-Molly-Mandy, please get me a ball of string from Miss Muggins's shop. Here's a penny." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Grandpa," and took the penny, thinking to herself, trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, string for Grandpa. As she passed through the kitchen, Grandma, who was sitting in her armchair knitting, said, "Milly-Molly-Mandy, will you get me a skein of red wool? Here's a sixpence." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Grandma," and took the sixpence. Trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, string for Grandpa, red wool for Grandma, she whispered over to herself. As she went into the passage, Uncle came striding up in a hurry. "Oh, Milly-Molly-Mandy," said Uncle. "Run like a good girl to Mr. Blunt's shop, and tell him I'm waiting for the chicken feed he promised to send." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Uncle," and thought to herself, trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, string for Grandpa, red wool for Grandma, chicken feed for Uncle. As she got her hat off the peg, Auntie called from the parlour where she was dusting, "Is that Milly-Molly-Mandy? Will you get me a packet of needles, dear? Here's a penny." So Milly-Molly-Mandy said, "Yes, Auntie," and took the penny, thinking to herself, trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, string for Grandpa, red wool for Grandma, chicken feed for Uncle, needles for Auntie, and I do hope there won't be anything more. But there was nothing else, so Milly-Molly-Mandy started out down the path. When she came to the gate, Toby the dog capered up, looking very excited at the thought of a walk. But Milly-Molly-Mandy eyed him solemnly and said, trowel for Father, eggs for Mother, string for Grandpa.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?